Now, get ready for the next fitness revolution. You will build strength. You will get ripped with the most groundbreaking workout tool on the planet, the Tug Toner. The Tug Toner uses dynamic resistance technology to work your biceps, triceps, pecs, delts, quads, lats, and glutes. And the Tug Toner's unique design allows you to work every angle of every muscle to complete exhaustion. The Tug Toner is versatile enough to let you work out anywhere, at home, in the car, even at the office. Order the Tug Toner for only $39.95 and get a second Tug Toner absolutely free, so you can work out with a friend. The Tug Toner.
Come on in and sit down. You cut the hardcore crew chewing the fat. You cut us shooting the shit. You cut us in the moment.
Because he slithers in the ring, he'll come out of nowhere and really play the mind game. Then he's like DDP, who out of nowhere will hit you with the diamond cutter. So he borrowed two good wrestlers and mixed them together to make the Viper gimmick. Because that's all it is. The Viper's just Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he also had that other great storyline of that gimmick for a long time. He called himself the Legend Killer, where he was taking out all legends for a long time, and that really made him,
Exactly.
early in his career. But then when you have wrestlers like, Curtis Axel, who had to change his name, he had to reboot, reform his career because the Michael McGillicuddy wasn't working for him, and then he had to change to, I think Axel was his grandfather's name, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was Larry the Axe Hennig. It was just the Axe. Yeah, see, that's, again, his whole Curtis Axel's career was mishandled from the get-go. They gave him a bad name. They could have called him Curtis Hennig. And and leave it like that.
No, I think Curtis Hennig would have worked. He just could have called,
too close to his dad's.
No, I think if he came out and said, look, I'm just Curtis Hennig, and just came out as himself, it probably would have sold.
Right, and the problem when they did was they quickly gave him the Mr. Perfect theme and all that. He should have just came out as Curtis Hennig and work his way up.
With his own music.
With his own music, and just let him go.
Yeah, and they're making the same mistake. If you pay attention to what's going on over in NXT with Ric Flair's daughter, Charlotte. Now, Ric Flair always says we're in Charlotte. No, I understand that that's her real name, but I mean, the fact that they're coming out with his music, and she's always doing the woo, and I think it's a huge, huge mistake. Andy, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you need to build your own, persona. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I think Randy Orton has way past his father, Cowboy Bob Orton.
I agree. So.
And being also, let's look at, this is a better conversation than we did with the Royal Rumble show we just
Well, it's
did.
all right, because we are in the moment, so we're just shooting the shit. So
there you go. Look at what happened with Ted DiBiase Jr. They quickly brung him out as almost a copy with Ted DiBiase, and they gave him the $1 million belt. You might as well have come out with the black tights with the dollar signs on them, and they did even give him Virgil, but it did not work. He should have just gone on his own. He should have just done the same thing, like Randy Orton. Just go out and wrestle, build yourself up. We all remember when Dustin Rhodes was Dustin Rhodes before he became GoldDust. He had to work hard to shake that persona out, and all of a sudden, he became GoldDust, and that changed his character completely.
And that pissed his father the hell off.
I mean, can you imagine Randy Orton coming out now with a cowboy hat on? It just wouldn't work at all. He's found his own niche, and he's worked it well. I mean, I've said, I don't know if Joe was a part of the team then, but I've said many a time, and the other guys have thought, no, if I must be honest, Ted DiBiase Jr. had got far more talent than Cody Rhodes, and I would have picked Cody Rhodes over Ted DiBiase Jr. over Cody Rhodes any day of the week. I thought he was a far better talent. He was just marketed wrong.
And you know what? I have to agree with you. And they really didn't. When he first started, they really didn't start him off with a $1 Million Man thing. He was just, it was him and Cody Rhodes. And
I thought he was carrying Cody Rhodes. I mean, they must have had.
He was actually, if you look at it. They
must have had some faith in the guy because he played part of the Marine, wherever it was, Part 3, and he did a very good part of acting. So they can't say he's got no mic skills. But even to this day, Cody Rhodes, even on when you see tweets and comments that he makes on Facebook, the reason why I don't get on the microphone very often, because I've got a lisp. His dad had a lisp and made it a fucking product.
Well, I think
never stopped his dad, did it?
Well, nowadays that gimmick wouldn't get over. WWE probably get sued for some
Cody
sort
Rhodes
of
is
racial
just using that as an excuse. He's just using that as an excuse because he has got no mic skills whatsoever, and he isn't even getting any better.
Well, I disagree. I think now with the StarDust gimmick, I think Cody Rhodes has now found his niche. I think that's his really, even when GoldDust moves on, I think they keep him as StarDust. Wouldn't you agree, Joe?
But don't you think? Don't you think though that the reason why they've now had him as this persona is because they are lacking the GoldDust character, who is going to be gone soon because of his age. So he's the new GoldDust. Again, it's revamping an old character.
I agree that it is revamping an old character, but if you also look at Cody's his past gimmicks, a lot of his past gimmicks did not work, and I think this gimmick actually is working well. He's getting over with the fans, and I think I'd like to see a dry run with him of just StarDust. I think that's what he needs. This is the only gimmick that's actually finally caught on, because you don't need to have to worry about your actual mic skills, and you have to worry about your lisp, because now you can talk it any way you want, and it's proven it.
If you look at Cody Rhodes, every time he talks under that gimmick of StarDust, he reminds me of several characters mixed in one. And maybe that's where he's drawing his inspiration from. He's kind of way out there, like, if you guys remember the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah. Which
was the main character, I forgot, for the love of me, I can't remember his name. And I love the guy, he's a great actor. But if you remember that character, Cody's Tim
Curry.
He's portraying Tim Curry's character from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And then at some moments, he's portraying the Joker because he's laughing maniacally. He's thinking this crazy stuff, and then he's the Riddler. So, I think what happened was they just threw up their hands, and Cody's like, you know what? What if I become StarDust and I become another GoldDust? But instead of being like the GoldDust type character, which is supposed to be like a homophobic, sexual type guy, I'm just going to be the way out there hearing the voices and all that. Maybe that'll work, guys. And look, it did work, because when he started doing that gimmick, you could see he's a lot happier because he's crazier, and his wrestling skills. And I always said that Cody Rhodes' wrestling skills are good. It was just the characters and the gimmick they gave him. Finally, they gave him a gimmick that he can cover his body, he can get out there, and he's not afraid to do stuff. And every match so far that the Dust Brothers have played in, I enjoyed it because they do some sort of shenanigans. Those are the things that really make it interesting. And for his character, it took him a while to finally get there. So that's how that works. As far as Ted DiBiase Jr., he could have been a tougher $1 million kid or something, but it didn't work. Look at the Usos. Look at every, Roman Reigns. All of these guys are the Rock's family, so they give them pushes. So, and some of them work and some of them don't work.
Yeah, actually, and you know, again, if you talked about the Usos have had a great run. Sons of Rikishi, and I think they've done phenomenal. You know, they're actually going to be at the Royal Rumble this Sunday, defending the title. This is the second title run, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, if you look down the line, the second generation, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And I think that's pretty much been the whole topic here. You know, for Charlotte, I don't really know. I mean, right now she's in NXT, so she's still in development. Do we see her making it? Does she have it? You know, I mean, as a wrestler, she really has it. But as a, getting over in the long run, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think Miss Jack Shit said it perfectly. She looks like Ric Flair in drag.
Well, you know what, Rick? Here's the thing. Whenever you break in wrestling and you're part of a famous family, your first instinct, and the first instinct of the company, is to push the family gimmick. So if Ric Flair comes out and Charlotte comes out and she's going, woo, you know, maybe she's going to come out with her version of the 4 fillies. There'll be 4 females. There'll be an enforcer. There'll be the Tully Blanchard type girl, Tessa Blanchard, I think it is. And, you know, maybe there'll be a Barry Windham daughter in there or something. You know, it's your first gut instinct is to take the family name and gimmick and try to adapt it as your own. That's where you see the problems. Yeah. That's where guys like Dustin Rhodes was Dustin Rhodes. That's where Ted DiBiase Jr. was trying to follow in his father's footsteps. Curtis Hennig was trying to do the same thing. You know, sometimes that can work for you, and sometimes it doesn't work for you.
And let's not forget one of the worst, Rocky Maivia.
Yep.
That gimmick. He turned into one of the greats, but that gimmick sucked.
Well, you know what? Actually, you know, it makes you wonder for a second. We're talking about all these gimmicks here, and you got to wonder if these wrestlers, do they really have a choice?
Probably not.
Do these wrestlers come in? I mean, you know, when we talk about Charlotte doing the Ric Flair gimmick, we're talking about Chris Axel doing the Mr. Perfect gimmick. Is this their choice or is this the company's choice? Andy, what do you think?
Depending on the character, I think it's probably a bit of both. And depending on the character, I think they let Randy Orton make up his own, and a couple of others I just can't think offhand. But Cody Rhodes was definitely pushed by his brother, I think, to find a persona that he could gel with, and I think he's found the right one now.
And when it comes to companies, again, Rick, you get an individual who's from a second-generation family, a famous second-generation family, you want to try to re-spark that character again. So, you know, naturally you're going to want to repackage that character, that persona that the father probably had. You know, it's like Ted DiBiase. You know, he was the $1 Million Man. He was great. He was a good wrestler, good technical wrestler, and the gimmick was interesting. His son came out. What he should have been was the spoiled rich kid. This is, you know, Dad, you know what? I don't know why I'm soiling my hands with this. Virgil, go kill him. You know, it should have been something like that. Or it could have been a situation where he says, you know what? I just want to be Ted DiBiase Jr.
No.
Or Teddy DiBiase, and let me go out there and wrestle. Sometimes it works, sometimes another. Here's another example for you, and probably nobody remembers. Barry Windham. Barry Windham came out as, his father is Black Jack Mulligan.
Yeah.
He came out as Black Jack Mulligan Jr., and he didn't get the respect, you know, in the territories. But when he became Barry Windham, oh, forget it. He was giving Ric Flair 1 hour Broadways. He was winning the tag title with Mike Rotundo. Sometimes you got to change your character and your name to make it. Look at Husky Harris. You know, really? Husky Harris? Now you see him as Bray Wyatt, and it's a better character. than being Husky Harris. So sometimes you gotta change. Sometimes maybe the company says, you know what, I don't know what we can do with you. Go ahead, come up with something.
And that has to be their name, a WWE name. Because no guy with a little bit of a gut wants to be called Husky.
Not necessarily. Yeah, I don't know. The WWE probably, it's. Either way, when they came up with the alternate gimmick of Bray Wyatt, that was definitely a huge mark for him, and that was, so far that's been great because he's over with the fans, and it's even talking about possibly him going to the WrestleMania with the Undertaker if he comes back, which totally off the subject. I hope he doesn't. But there's other wrestlers who are not in the WWE that are second-gen wrestlers that, I can think Scott Hall has a son who's, trying to get in the wrestling.
Yeah, Cody Hall.
But
Cody
they're putting him in, Scott Hall actually put him in his old outsider gear, which I think is a mistake.
Yeah, and he's in Japan. He's actually part of that clique. Yeah, and he's actually doing the toothpick and the whole gimmick.
Really? Wow.
And it says that Hall in the back of his, he has the vest, he has the trunks, he has everything that was from Scott Hall. The only thing that's different about him technically is that he's bald. If he would have let his hair grow long and dye it black, it would be a dead ringer for Scott Hall. And, again, when you're in the business, you want to try to get something that the fans can accept you as and that can know you as. So let's say Stone Cold Steve Austin has a son and he's a dead ringer. He'd be a fool not to come into the ring as Steve Austin Jr. until he could develop a gimmick. Because you gotta hit the ring as something. As something that the fans gonna remember you as. And then you gradually says, I don't want to be Steve Austin anymore. I want to be, whatever Austin or something else. Maybe I want to be Stunning Steve. I don't want to be, beer drinking Steve. It's something that you instantly you want to capitalize on your famous family name to get in there.
Well, I think sometimes that hurts guys.
If you can't perform at the level, it's true. If you can't excel at the same level as your father did, then obviously it's going to hurt your career. Let's face it, Dusty Rhodes was one of the best talkers, the best wrestlers of the 80s. When Dusty Rhodes came out in the 90s, well, he wasn't that great.
Yeah.
He didn't have the charisma. He didn't have the movement. He just couldn't compare to being Dusty Rhodes.
So, yeah. And I know that Andy, that's one of his favorite wrestlers, right, Andy? Did we lose Andy?
Oh, my microphone was muted. Sorry. He's my favourite wrestler of all time.
And I know how you always love it because you're always making fun of the way he listens, the way he does that. I don't know, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
I swear somebody punched him in the mouth when he was about 9 and he bit about 8 inches of his tongue off. Do you know what he reminds me of? And I don't know if you guys have ever seen the film. There's an animated cartoon from about 70s or 80s called Robin Hood. And there's a character in that called Sir Hiss, who's a snake. That's Dusty Rhodes. I don't give a shit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just have a look. Robin Hood cartoon, Disney cartoon, because the snake talks like that.
He's also the same snake that you hear in the Jungle Book, too, in Disney. In that old Disney cartoon.
Yeah, it's Dusty Rhodes. Smoking.
And it's funny, too, because you have other, wrestlers who are in the business who try to emulate or redo a gimmick, that was done by a famous individual to try to get over. And again, on the indie scene, it doesn't get over as much, in some places. Oh, it does, because fans don't know any better. But when you enter a big company, that gimmick is not going to help you. So, you're not going to see Iron Mike Sharp Jr. or Jake the Milkman Milligan Jr. or something like that. It's just, when you're not to take that person's name. And, are we going to see a little Stinger, get into a ring? It's, thank God we don't see any X-Pac kids in there.
Well, I think China might be infertile.
Yeah. If China's an it, or boy, or girl, whatever she is.
And I think the amount of pipe he smoked might have sterilized him.
And it's funny, you will always expect a son of Hulk Hogan to be in professional wrestling, and you look at Nick Hogan, you say, what the hell happened?
Yeah. It looks like it should be in a boy band.
Yeah, you look at Brooke Hogan, you say, oh shit, that's where it went to.
Yeah, she looks like she could climb in there.
Yeah, she looks a bit Beth Phoenixy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she was over on TNA for a while as she was supposed to be like the women's managers, and you thought maybe she was going to get into a match. Nope, never happened. So that was a joke.
Yeah, I don't know if it was true, but there was loads of rumours and loads of internet gossip that she was in training camp for training. But like you say, she never, not to my knowledge, ever had a match.
No.
Well, and here's another instance where being part of a famous family didn't help your career because you just didn't get it. Lacey Von Erich.
Oh, God.
She was shite.
Yeah.
How can you come from a famous Von Erich family that had David Von Erich, who had Kerry Von Erich, Mike Von Erich, Kevin Von Erich? The Von Erichs were the biggest, best family next to the Hart family. And they won titles all over. They fought Ric Flair. Here is this girl who's the daughter of Kerry Von Erich, the modern-day warrior, and she can barely step through the ropes.
She's still wearing mega shit.
If you look at the Hart Foundation, if the Harts, right, Bret and Owen Hart were really the only two, aside from Stu Hart himself, were the only two Harts that really came out of the dungeon,
You tell me, this Stu Hart.
Yeah, I mean, they had a couple of other brothers, but I mean, I don't think they ever really made it out of Canada.
Yeah, the other Harts were married in that made it big.
Right, Jim Neidhart made it big.
Yeah.
I think even Roddy Piper is in the Hart family.
Distant, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think he's a cousin, I think.
Yeah, he's a cousin. And but the only one that you can look at that actually there's two. You know what? If I were to pick from the Hart generation today, Natalia is definitely well trained.
Okay.
It's just they don't give her the chance, and she's not a bad-looking woman. So you have a winner there. Then you got David Hart Smith, who's a spitting image of a young British bulldog.
He got pissed off and said, "Fuck WWE."
Yeah,
he's over in Japan now.
You know what? And if they were to give him, I think that's a type of person that you give him a tag partner and redo the British Bulldogs or the Canadian Bulldogs, whichever way you want to call it. That will help his career. Because
I think they tried to do something like that when he was with Tyson Kidd, but again, I think the big problem was he said it in the shoot interview, if I'm not mistaken, that he wanted to do all these moves, and again, they were taking him away, saying, "Sorry, WWE, sorry, Dave, you can't do this move, you can't do that move." He wanted to do the running power bomb. No, you can't do that. Want to do the running power slam. Nope, you can't do that. He wanted to do delayed suplex. Nope, you can't do that. And he's like, what the fuck? Because this is like my bread and butter. This is what my father, I wanted to learn from my father. He goes, well, you're not your father, and that was 20 years ago, and this is now, and this is not wrestling. This is sports entertainment.
I have a question for you, for all y'all. Since we're talking second generation stars, we know a certain it's a certain taboo name in WWE, Mr. Benoit. Uh-huh. He has a son that is a
he does.
wrestler. I know we'll never see the name Benoit in WWE again. We just won't. But do you think we'll ever see him in WWE?
That's a good question.
Only if he changes his name, I think.
Like I'm saying, like under a different alias.
You know, and it really all depends on how well his training is and really what type of build he has. You know, if he comes out built like Chris Benoit with the same move sets and all that, absolutely. If he comes out like 120 pounds soaking wet, he's good for the indies. You know, it's really all up to him and how well he, you know, how should I say, you know, grows. If he grows into another Chris Benoit, yep, he'll make it.
I'm gonna look see what he does look like.
As long as he doesn't come with a gimmick, something like the Hangman or something like that.
Wow.
Andy. No. Bad son of a bitch. Bad son of a bitch.
Leave it to Andy here, folks.
The Family Killer.
Jeez.
You know what? I think to get back at Chris Benoit, I think Kevin Sullivan did a little bit of the voodoo on them.
Well, I know Rick knows my view, and I know Lance. I think Kevin Sullivan's got a lot to do with that scenario. I really do.
I don't know. A lot of people have different opinions of what happened there.
You know, there's one more son that's in wrestling. I don't know if he's in training yet, but Road Warrior Animal has a son. Was in football. Yeah, he's in the NFL. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in professional wrestling. Now the question is, would he be a Road Warrior or would he be a different gimmick?
Roadkill.
You know,
Andy, that's actually taken.
Yeah, but that would be an interesting question because, I mean, especially now with the Ascension doing the whole Road Warrior gimmicks, you know, even if he did come over, that would be really hard because, you know, the Ascension's trying to go for that and it's not getting over with the fans. I think, you know, like we were talking about how second generation's trying to, you know, like take over their parents' gimmicks, so and it's just not always working, or you know, like following in their parents' footsteps, or they just need to walk their own step, create their own destiny, so to speak. And you know, I think we realize for the most part, creating your own destinies worked. You know, you look at people like The Rock, you look at people like Bray Wyatt, you look at people like Randy Orton. That has proven time and time again. You stand on 2 feet, you will always be able to create your own destiny, as opposed to like trying to be somebody, you know, standing, you know, your parents' shadows. You're just gonna stay in darkness.
I got one more thing before we sign off here. Which wrestler would you like to see have a son that gets into wrestling, and what type of gimmick would they have? So let's say, like, if Andre the Giant had a son, would we see another Big Show?
Okay. Well, I'm not sure. I know that Triple H has. I know he has 2 daughters. Does he have a son?
No, just daughters, I think.
Oh, I could have sworn he had one son. But I was gonna say, imagine another game. You know, in the WWE.
What about another Undertaker?
That'd be hard to pull off.
That would be interesting, though. I mean, I would like another Undertaker. I don't want to see. I really don't want to see it. The problem with that gimmick is it's one of a kind, and even if it came by even 20 years later, it wouldn't sell. I mean, maybe a lot of, you know,
his gimmick started at the right sort of time. Like you say, now, if someone came in as an Undertaker character now, they'd be a laughing stock.
Exactly.
You think, what the hell's this guy? But he bought the persona out at the right time, in like end of the 80s, starting of the 90s, when it really took off, and it was the right sort of time. It's like, imagine now a wrestler coming back and calling himself the Power Ranger. He'd look a bit of a dick. Probably 10 years ago, calling himself the Power Ranger, he could have probably pulled it off. But I don't see it. It's like Hulk Hogan. If somebody came and acted like Hulk Hogan now, a new character, it wouldn't work. It'd look stupid.
Exactly. Do you think Hulk Hogan, in his prime, brand new, young, would he have been the face over John Cena?
No.
No.
Exactly. It doesn't happen. You have to look at it that way. You have to be real and think of, all these people and the way it is. It's the time frame. It's not just the person, but it's also the time. And, But right now, what we want is your comments and your thoughts. Make sure you put your comments in the comment section below. Make sure you like and follow us. And make sure you check out this video. And make sure you follow us over to Facebook.com/Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Andy, where can everyone find you at?
Yeah, you can find me at www.stokehaunted.com.
We have the classic wrestling manager on, and he's Joseph Knight. Joe, what do you got going on?
Well, pretty much we'll be debuting again with the CWA in April. We got a big show. That's also another surprise we got coming in. So we got a couple of things going on. You can follow me on Twitter at JKnightCWA. You can also follow me on my Facebook page at Joseph Knight Manager. And you can also go to my other Facebook page at Facebook.com Classic Wrestling Association.
And we have the incomparable Lance Moss in the house. And you can find him at YouTube.com/Lance Moss TV. Lance, what do you got going on?
Album reviews, NASCAR discussion videos, redneck on videos, musical equipment reviews and stuff like that, some rants, and I have started putting up the archives of controversies and scandals. So get on over there and subscribe.
Alright. And also, we do have a brand new sponsor. Guys,
oh god.
Get on, make sure you check out Tug Toner. That video will be up next. So for everyone here, I'm your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.
Tug Toner, a friend in your hand.
Thank you for listening to this edition of In the Moment. Make sure you follow us at any one of our locations, whether it's YouTube, Dailymotion, and now SoundCloud.com under the name HWR Show. Until the next time, this is your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.